All right, we're kicking it off. Let me get my screen share up here so that Jason can go through all this good info with us. Okay, wrong email. So there we go. No. Ta-da.
Okay.
All right.
Everybody can see that now?
I'll email this out to the group too, and I'll post it on our page.
Okay.
So go for it.
So today we're going to talk about preparing your home for an inspection. A lot of things that are not disclosed to especially the seller's agents is having the home ready for the inspection, including access to certain areas of the home, such as electrical boxes, attic access, making sure the area around furnaces are clear and accessible, water heaters as well. There's a breakdown in communication, excuse me, a lot of times between agents of making sure the home is ready for the inspection. And that includes, such in my list here, things, any work that has been done to the home, such as the furnaces or ACs have been serviced or cleaned, any major problems that have been fixed with the home. All that should be disclosed. It makes the inspection go a lot smoother and easier and quicker. My inspections take about 2.5, 3 hours overall. That includes printing it on site. But I a lot of times come across areas such as the attic does not have access. The majority of ours in this area, the access is in the garage, so you could have a parked car there. People store stuff, so we can't even get a ladder in there. And I'm not for one to move stuff around. I don't have permission to move stuff to have access to those areas, because if anything happens to that stuff, then it makes me liable for it if anything happens to it. Of course, you can see on the list here, we've discussed the septic system last week, sewer lines. Provide any documentation that you have on any of the appliances, including the water heater, and anything even such as maybe a garbage disposal you just replaced or whatever. All that is handy to have to give to your potential buyer, so that he knows what's going on with the home prior to me even showing up to the inspection.
Right.
Did y'all have any questions?
Not about that.
Okay. Kelly, you good?
Good thumbs up.
Okay. So that's about all I had for today, is just making sure that the home is ready. This is a checklist that Leslie will be sending out to her realtors. It's good to have and make sure it's not only good to have and know it, but make sure it's related to the seller's agent so that they can relay the information to their seller to make sure these areas are clear and ready for inspection. I think sometimes that's where the breakdown is. The realtors don't relay it to their clients to get ready for it. So a lot of times I don't think the sellers even know that those areas should be accessible.
I'm reading through these to see if I have any questions.
Okay.
Or they own a golf business and their entire garage is full of golf equipment.
Yes, we come across that recently, right?
Yeah.
Pets as well. Pets is another big one. Making sure they're crated or take them with you so that they don't interfere or pose a threat to me as the inspector.
I've had a home inspection where the dog just sat and growled at David and the inspector the entire time, but would come and sit right next to me. So the dog obviously had male issues, and was totally fine though. So I just kind of kept it next to me, but yeah, she didn't like that anybody else was in her house.
Yeah, I've done a couple where we didn't have access to the backyard even, which is usually where like the AC unit's at, possibly the electrical box or the meter box for electrical system. All that needs to be looked at. And if I can't get to it, I can't tell my client what kind of shape it's in or if it needs any work, anything, which is a disservice to everybody, in my opinion, including the seller's agent and the seller, because now I'll have to go back out, possibly add on another charge for the inconvenience and reinspect those areas.
So when that happens, is that something that usually the seller has to pay for or the buyer has to pay for?
Usually the seller would have to, since it was not prepared for the home inspection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and for the agents that are watching this outside of just us right now, I mean, that's something that's important too, because if they can't do the inspection during the timelines that they're supposed to have for their due diligence period, I mean, then you could possibly be out of contract.
Correct.
So a way for a buyer or a seller to opt out.
I thought this was a good topic for new agents coming into the industry, obviously, and even some of the seasoned agents who go through the processes. They've been doing it for 20 years. Ain't no big deal. Get her done. And then all of a sudden I get there and I can't look at the electrical box, so this little checklist right here is a good place to start of making sure having the home ready for the inspection.
Absolutely. Well, and I mean, even some of the seasoned agents that don't have their processes documented, where they're just handing this off to every single seller so that they understand as from the listing standpoint that this is what needs to happen. Although I will say we have stuff like this that goes out ahead of time and stuff like this that goes out before photos, and it still doesn't always happen.
Sure.
So it's a breakdown in literacy or a breakdown in something between
Yeah.
point A and point B.
Yeah. There's
So-
a lot of people there that need to be informed that, which obviously we're all human, things are going to happen. So, but the more people you get involved, the more apt you have to have a mistake. So, I mean, I inspected one home that had evidence in the attic of a fire and it was not disclosed. Of course, I took pictures of it and documented it, and I believe that deal ended because they didn't disclose that it had a fire in the attic at some point of its life. So it's
what was that?
So it's very important to disclose it before the inspection.
On this, I know we can discuss this another time, but if you just want to touch it lightly, aluminum wire connections.
Mm-hmm.
What's the significance of that?
They need to be aluminum wire. There's no real issues with aluminum wire other than connections. Over time, the aluminum expands and contracts a little more than copper. So those connections can become loose. And it's very important to make sure those are connected real well and then put in a box with a cover on it for safety. But that's the biggest issue with aluminum wiring is the connection comes loose. And those need to be made tight and secure.
So when a homeowner is having an electrician check those, I mean, they're supposed to open each box and check that they're still twisted together. Is that what it is?
That's a very good idea. Yes. Obviously, if you're in an area like, my home has aluminum wiring. It's in the attic, but it's covered in insulation. So you're not always gonna be able to see it. You have to know the home to know where those connections are at. But it's also good at any outlets or receptacles. Those little screws can become loose. You need to make sure those are tightened on them. Aluminum wiring is still used a lot of times on some of the bigger service electrical units, such as the stoves or ovens. Sometimes they still use the heavier gauge aluminum wiring on those circuits.
Okay. Ashley, I'm going to scroll this back up to the top so you can scan this. I know you just joined us and see if you have any questions about this, but Jason's topic is for us to be sharing this with our sellers before people come out and do home inspections.
Okay. Will you email this to me too?
Yeah, I'm going to post it on the page and I'll email it out.
Okay. Perfect.
That way, if you can scan it really quick, if you have any questions, then we can hit Jason up now, and somebody else that's
Okay.
watching this might have the same question that you did. So let me know when you're ready for me to scroll it up on my screen a little bit.
Okay, give me just a second.
Something else it touches on is having a pre-listing inspection done.
Yeah,
That's another topic, another time, but those are important to catch any items before the home goes up for sale even. So it gives everybody a heads up as to what to expect at the inspection.
Those are really nice if somebody is wanting to sell their house as is and they're just really adamant about it. I always try to persuade people not to do that, because the second that we comment that it's as is, then all the red flags are thrown up and people are starting to freak out about it. And they always statistically sell for less money than they would have if it wouldn't have had as is in the description. But it's nice if it's going to be as is. It's like, here's 100% what we know about the house, and now make your offers accordingly.
Leslie, you can scroll. You can keep going. Keep going, keep going. Okay.
I personally don't have a specific policy on it, but I do recommend that the buyer be at the inspection.
Okay.
It sure makes it a lot nicer when they are. I mean, there's nothing that's, I think, is scarier than people that haven't seen the houses. They're buying them off of videos. They don't show up to the home inspection, and then I even had one a month or so ago that didn't even come for closing. So they never saw the house. They never saw anything about it until after the weekend after they owned it.
Yeah.
And then they were frustrated with a whole lot of things about it. But
Oh, and
I
you're
don't-
other people that will call you 3 weeks later. What about this? And it's in the report. I mean, people sometimes don't seem like they're even reading the report.
well, that's what I'm saying. Even about this, it's like, we can send this out to sellers, but it's not guaranteed that even they're going to read it. I mean, we see that with our contracts. I mean, we send those out to be electronically signed and we have it back within 2 minutes. It's like, there's no way that you just read, 20 some pages of stuff and got it back that fast. So,
And that's the same with my visual inspection agreement. Yeah, it's electronic. So sometimes it's 2 days before I get it back, and sometimes I get it right back. So
right.
Yep.
Ashley, do you have any questions or anything that you've run into on inspections, or do you guys have
Oh,
any just general?
No questions. I've run into people that didn't put their pets away, and the inspector was like, there's dogs.
Yeah.
But no, I have no questions on that sheet.
I mean, that's even important for us to be reminding sellers when it's time for the appraisal. I mean, a lot of these things, especially if it's FHA, there's a lot of these things that are going to be really nice to have handy for the appraiser as well. But I've had appraisers that they see a dog and they won't even
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
Yep.
They won't go in the house. They won't, because they don't know if there's a dog door, that just is going to let the dog open and, come in and out freely. So something that we definitely need to be having more conversations with our sellers.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
Okay. Well, I know Austin's just now joining us, but we've got this on video, so I'll post it here in just a little bit. But anybody else have any questions about inspection etiquette or things about this? Austin, I'll scroll up to the top so you can
See it.
read this real quick and see if you have any questions on it. Let me know if you're ready for me to scroll. I don't know if his audio is even on.
Hey, I have a question.
Okay.
So, if a house has the old 50s style paper insulated cloth covered wiring, should we suggest they do anything with that?
Not right away. It depends on what my report says in the end. I know electrical issues can be kind of scary. Most of the time, that's not a huge issue. I know there's certain electrical boxes out there that have a bad reputation, and some it doesn't bother. But in the end, I'm sure you'll probably have a hard time getting some people to pay for this ahead of time, not even knowing whether it needs to be done or not. But I would wait for the inspection. A lot of agents do, to see what pops up in the inspection, what I see or find at the inspection.
All right. Well, nobody else has any other questions, then we'll wrap it up and I will post this in our page in just a little bit.
Okay. Thank you, Leslie. Thank you, everyone.
Absolutely. Thanks for your time, Jason, and thanks for giving us this so that we can pass it along to our sellers before all the inspections.
Sure. We'll see you.
Thank you.
Bye,
All right.
Jason.
See you soon.
Bye, everybody.